Okay, this is our first lesson in learning how to write G-code. This type of graph may be familiar to you from past math classes called the Cartesian coordinate system. In math class, if we pick a point, say right here, and these are whole numbers, we would write that 2, 2 with parentheses. And if we pick this point, this being the y-axis, this being the x-axis, this would be negative 2, 2, the x coming first. Negative 2, 2, in parentheses. G-code, we don't do that. What we say, for this case, x2, y2. And for this case, x negative 2, y2. Likewise, down here is negative x and y. So this would be x negative 2, y negative 2, and here would be x2, y negative 2. That's the first thing that we need to know. The next thing is we're going to do movements. And when we do a movement, we are giving it a location. So if I'm here, let me start this over here. If I'm here at 0, 0, and I want to move to this point, I need to say G0, 1, which is move in a straight line to this point. And that point then would be x2, y2. So this line of code, G0, 1, x2, y2, would move the machine from here to here. If I wanted to go back to this spot, G0, 1, again, G0, 1 is move in a straight line, and we would tell it this spot, x negative 2, y2. And then the machine, these two lines of code, the machine would go from here to here, and then from here to here. So right now, all we're focused on is straight lines. G0, 1 is a straight line. And if we give it a location, the machine will move there. Let's add another location. We won't get too far away, but we'll go right here. That would be x1, 2, 3. G0, 1, move in a straight line. x3, y4. And if we have those three lines, the machine will start and go. This now is how we would write code for, we will make the letter Z. Notice now these squares are a quarter of an inch, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, and so on. This way we have 0.25, 0.5, 0.75. They just don't fit very well here. So, and then 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, 2. 2.25, I'm sorry, 2.25, 2.5, 2.75, and so on. Okay. Now, one thing about G-code and our CNC machine is it does not only deal in 2 dimensions. We can also lift up and down. And that is known as, of all things, the Z direction. So this location here is 0, 0, 0. X0, Y0, Z0, right here where the pen sits. And if I was to lift the pen up 1 inch, that would be Z1. And if I was to bring the pen below the surface, that would be negative number. Okay. So what we need to do first, we don't want our machine to just slide across the surface because we might make a mark or run into something. So our first line of code, we're going to lift up. Okay. We're going to say G01. That's going a straight line, but we're going to lift up. Z, we like to use half of an inch, Z.5. Z's like this, make it look like a Z. So you don't want to get confused with a 2. And zeros, we put the slash through there. So right now, this lifted up. We could then, we need to go someplace. We could go here, 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 or here. 2 of those are better than the other 2 options. It would be better to start here or here, because if we go here, we're going to have to backtrack. What we want to do, we've already lifted up. I'm going to say we go here. Either one is fine. Lift up. We need to go to this location, which is, we're going to go in a straight line, G01. We're already above the part, but we need to move to here, which is X.75, Y2. Those 2 lines of code will lift the machine up and move it over here. Now we need to bring it down. For instance, bring the pen down to touch the page. G01, Z, negative 0.1. We are just going below the surface 1/10 of an inch, or in machinist talk, 100 thousandths of an inch, which equals 0.1 equals 0.100. And that's, we read that as 100 thousandths of an inch. We don't have to add the extra zeros. We don't want spaces. We can have a space between the X coordinate and the Y coordinate and the command and the next, but we don't want spaces between the Z and the negative 0.1. So now our machine, with those 3 lines of code, will lift up, go here, and go down below the surface, negative 0.1 inches. Now we're ready to start making our Z. We need to go to this location, and that is X2, Y2. G01, X2, Y2. 4 lines of code, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to grab a thicker marker because the cutter has thickness to it. In fact, we can get up to 1/4 of an inch. We have cutters that are 2 inches, but in this case, we'd use about 1/4 of an inch or 3/16. So the machine is here. We lift up, we come here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of code. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's sitting here spinning now. We need to give it the next command, which is to come down to this location. Stay there, marker. G01, X 0.75, Y 0.5. And now we need to go here, G01, X2, Y 0.5. And then the last thing we want to do is lift back up. G01, Z 0.5. So these lines of code, and I'm going to number them. With G-code, if we put an N in front of a number, the machine kind of ignores it. But this is really helpful because, oops, I should have been a little more careful there. 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. This is helpful if we have 100 or for that matter 10,000 lines of code and there's an error. The machine will pop up and it'll say there's an error on line G01 X2 Y 0.5. And you could have to go through 10,000 lines of code to find that. But if you have an N number in front of it, it would say there is an error on line N6 G01 X2 Y 0.5. So then it's very quick and easy to find where that error is. But anyway, we have 7 lines of code. The cutter is here. We turn the machine on so it's spinning. It lifts up, goes here, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7. In which case, if we wanted just a Z, we could turn the machine off and we would have that cut. That is lesson 1 in G-code.